The Clio Cup Series is at Paul Ricard this weekend, and race one is going to be in the dark. What could possibly go wrong? This is going to be a really lively 25 minutes plus one lap, partly because it is a very full grid, partly because there are three different championships being disputed this weekend: Clio Cup Europe, Clio Cup Spain, and of course Clio Cup France. And all of them are very tightly balanced indeed. On pole position is Anthony Girardot, who is second in the European Championship. He has had 7 wins in that over the course of the season. And with him is David Pouget, who is fourth in the European with 3 wins, and the joint leader of the French with 5 wins. And the man that he is jointly leading the French Championship with has also had 5 wins. That's Nicolas Milon, who starts 6th on the grid in one of the increasing number of Castrol liveried cars. Nicolas Milon just on the far left as you look at the screens, and he is the championship leader in Europe. It is going to be, as I say, 25 minutes plus a lap, one formation lap coming up in a moment. As far as Clio Cup Europe is concerned, Nicolas Milon leads by just 4 points from Anthony Girardot, with Marc Guillot third. Guillot's yet to win a race in this, but he is actually this year's Eastern European champion, in which he's had 4 wins. Clio Cup France couldn't be better. 5 wins each, Nicolas Milon, David Pouget, and on drop scores they are absolutely tied on points. Clio Cup Spain, which has only raced at Jarama, Manicor and Valencia so far, has here and Barcelona to come, and that is led by Alex Royo. He's had 3 wins, and he's 20 points up on Nico Abea, who's also had 3 wins, but Abea had some damage in qualifying this morning. He's a long way back on the grid, and with a new front end on the car, should be one to watch. So it is blast off for the formation lap, a chance to get some warmth into the Michelin tyres. All of these cars are 4-cylinder, 1400cc turbo, 200 brake horsepower pocket rockets. They are on Michelin rubber, and as they weave their way down towards turn 1, headlight spotting is going to be as important as anything in this race. And so Anthony Girardot, very quick, but occasionally has the odd red mist moment. He will be the man on pole position. Quite an assortment of headlights still in the pit lane, suggesting that a few may have missed the pit lane opening, but we'll see whether that is the case when the race itself gets underway and how many come scampering out of the pit lane. This, the lap, you've got that long, fast pit straight down towards Varier, the left-right at the start of the lap, down towards the tight sequence of Virage du Camp and Saint-Baume, that loops you around onto the Mistral straight, on which there is the chicane. That breaks up that very, very fast section before you get to the very fast right of Signes, into the almost hairpin-esque corner of Le Bossé, up towards Bendor, then the Virage de la Tour and Virage du Pont, which is that very, very tight 90 plus right at the end of the lap. So it's a lap with some very fast bits, some very technical bits, and a very slow bit right at the end. Everybody, of course, with the same car. It's down to the teams to try and get the most out of it. And in terms of the numbers, well, GPA Racing is one of the strongest, and numerically Milan Competition is the other. GPA is David Pouget's team, Milan Competition, Nicolas Milon's squad. There's also quite a good number coming out of the GM Sport stable. Chefo Sport has got quite a number as well. So just like any one-mate championship, really, the intra-team fight, well worth keeping an eye on. As far as the Europe Championship is concerned, they have been to Jarama, to Imola, to Zandvoort, to the Hungaroring, to Hockenheim, to the Red Bull Ring, and most recently to Monza. And it was David Pouget who won last time out. The first race at Monza, won by Felice Gelmini, but he's not registered for points, so he was winning in the Italian concurrent championship. So the best of the European cars home was that of Anthony Girardot. And you can see just how busy it is as the back of the grid weaves its way into the chicane. If you are going to be on pole position, like Anthony Girardot is, you get in for a long wait here before everybody else makes their way round to the grid. Alex Royo, number 3, will be the man to watch in the Spanish competition, because he is the man that leads that championship. He starts on the 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, 11th row of the grid, but even so, one to watch. Other championship protagonists to keep an eye to. Alexandre Alboy, who drives number 25, he is the Challengers Cup leader of the French Championship, the Challengers Cup for those who are under the age of 25. Jerzy Spinkovic in number 125 is the man that leads the European Championship Challengers Cup. The gentleman drivers, that's for the older or less experienced campaigners. The European element of that is being led by Stefan Polderman, the French by Mathieu Rigolet, number 632, another of the Castrol's liveried cars, and the gentleman driver Spain leader is Fabien Julia. So Anthony Gerardo lines up on pole position with David Pouget alongside. Then it's Marc Guillot and Adrien Schimpf from the Spanish Championship on the second row. Then you've got Jerzy Spinkovic and Nicolas Milon next, ahead of Alexandre Finkelstein and Jean Leneutre from Léo Jousset, and Aurélien Renet rounds out the top 10. 11th on the grid, Alejandro Schimpf from Nikola Milchiovic. Then it's Alex Royo and Guillaume Maillot, two quick drivers both. Jeremy Bordegaray next from Alexandre Alboy. Florian Courouble is ahead of Jacopo Jimenez. Then it's Pierre Momanix and Alex Larose 20th from Mathieu Rigolet and Yusso Pantela. He's one to watch, a long way back. Cedric Delcroix and Franck Horner next from René Steenmetz and Stefan Polderman. Two gentleman drivers ahead of Quinto Stafana. And the rest of the grid files through, with at the very, very back, Jordi Palomares from the Spanish Championship. So the grid is formed. There should be 41 cars in total. How many of them survive 25 minutes and a lap in the darkness around here? Could be anybody's guess. Let's find out as we are set to go racing then. The last couple of cars coming out of the Virage du Pont in a moment. The grid stretching all the way back towards that last corner. And Anthony Gerardo on pole position sits and waits. And waits, and waits. And as soon as everybody has returned, then the fun can begin. This SRO Racing Festival, with still plenty more action on track to come into the evening, is about to get Clio Cup Series Race 1 underway. The second race tomorrow at about 10 minutes to 5, all being well. So at least that's going to be in the daylight, but this is a real challenge for the drivers. One-make racing is hard enough, but in the dark, here we go. 5 red lights are on. When the lights go out now, it is blast off. A good getaway made by Anthony Gerardo, and a good start also there by Marc Guillot in the Castrol colours to nip up the inside of David Pouget on the run down towards turn 1. And Anthony Gerardo, who's won here in the past, even supporting the French Grand Prix, turns then into the first corner. Guillot goes second, Pouget third, and everybody else is fourth as a mass of headlights pours its way into turns 1 and 2. The field accelerate then now up towards the Virage du Camp for the first time, with the field now blasting down, with 4 of them just having joined in from the pit lane. So there were a number that had to start late, and drama there as already the mayhem begins. And the first one that gets turfed off the road rather spectacularly is Alexandre Finkelstein. So that car hopefully hasn't picked up too much damage and can rejoin, and the rest battle their way now onto the Mistral Straight for the first time. So onto the straight, this is a perfect opportunity to get a tow. 2, 3 abreast in the pack, and there, look, picking out the race-leading gaggle, 3 wide. Anthony Gerardo just on the inside line. Then he's got Guillot, and he's got the recovering David Pouget right with him. They break. It's almost 4 wide, in fact, for the race lead. And as they turn through on the outside line, Guillot it is that has the advantage. Gerardo gets squeezed second. David Pouget is third. Not for long he's not, because he's under attack, look, as they're bouncing up on the inside. Goes Adrien Schimpf. But Pouget comes out just ahead then as they battle their way now onto the Mistral Straight. So a good first lap thus far from Marc Guillot, but he's got Gerardo right with him. Then David Pouget in third place. Now, both Guillot and Gerardo drive for Nicolas Milon's team. And remember that although it's every man for himself, if they can get the boss up there as well to take points off Pouget for Clio Cup France, that might be a result as well. Anthony Gerardo was rather miffed at Hockenheim to be beaten by the team principal, and it was a rather grumpy podium. I think they kissed and made up for later on in the day, but Gerardo eager to try to take honours. Now this shows what happened to Alexandre Finkelstein. He got up onto the curb and then got sideways and then went across the front of the traffic, and that spat him off the road. That, by the look of it, was Mathieu Rigolet, who he's getting caught up with. Possibly, though, Nicolas Milon's car. So certainly one of the Castrol cars. Rigolet a little bit further back than Milon, but it is Guillot who is going to lead at the end of lap 1. So Marc Guillot, who for many a season has carried the very Renault worked yellow on the car, now goes to the Castrol colours. A big presence from Castrol here this weekend, partner of Renault Sport, and over the line, nose to tail, Gerardo gets the tow as they come past the pits then now. Down towards turn 1. Absolutely together, the top 2, but Gerardo decides not to force the issue there and keeps behind Marc Guillot. As long as you're in that leading peloton, as it were, you don't really need to attack until the last couple of laps. It's very unlikely that you're going to be able to make a realistic break. Adrian Schimpf, who was well up on the mid part of that lap, has come through in 41st place. So having been jockeying for place with Pouget, he's picked up damage because Schimpf has come into the pit lane. So from 4th on the grid, big drama for him. That brings Joran Le Neutre up into 4th place now. Behind Le Neutre is Jetse Spinkovics, Aurélien René is 6th, and then it is Nicolas Milan in 7th as the race leaders work their way onto the Mistral straight once more. This is lap 2. You can see the clock ticking on down. Remember, it then picks up the regulation lap at the end. So the leaders blast towards us, with the lead car being that of Marc Guillot and Anthony Girardot, quite content for the moment to sit there to see where Guillot is strong. And Guillot is the person with the hard job at the moment, really. He is the one trying to find the reference points in the darkness. Yes, OK, there is peripheral lighting around the circuit, but it's nothing like being able to drive in the daylight. So bits of the circuit are illuminated. But just as we have for GT World Challenge Europe, this is a real challenge racing into the darkness. And it's something else for the drivers to relish, real change from the normality of racing in the daylight. So Guillot, it is leading the way. Second, right on his tail, is Anthony Girardot. The two teammates at Milan Competition run nose to tail up towards Le Beausset. David Pouget runs third, look, and Girardot looking the quicker of the two here. Marc Guillot looking for a maiden Clio Cup Europe win this year, but the Eastern Europe champion holds sway. Girardot second, Pouget third. Then it is Joran Le Neutre ahead of Jetse Spinkovics and Aurélien René in 6th spot. Number 1, Nicolas Milan, is going to be the one to watch, I suspect, here, to see what he can do to pick his way back into the mix. One or two others leaning on each other lower down the order as the field sweeps through up towards the Virage de la Tour. And Girardot is going to have to get on with the programme here soon, isn't he? Because he knows that the GPA Racing patron, David Pouget, is closing up in 3rd place. Milan's team busy running Alpines this weekend here as well as Clio's. Pouget running cars in French GT as well as in Clio's. So this is almost a respite to go racing. Over the line come the leaders. Through they blast once more. Over the timing line again. This time Girardot does have a cheeky look to the inside into turn 1 and goes through. So Girardot up the inside. No, he doesn't go through. Guillot stands his ground on the outside and he comes back on the inside at 2, retakes the advantage. But these two have got to be careful because the more they fight, the more they're going to bring Pouget back into the mix. And he's bringing Joran Le Neutre with him. So it is now 4 for the race lead, nearly 5, because Jetse Spinkovics is there as well as Girardot goes through up on the inside line at turn 3. This is turn 4. And then down to the Virage du Camp. So new race leader. It is Girardot ahead, but only just. Then it is Guillot, then it is Pouget, then it is Le Neutre, and then it's Spinkovics in 5th place. A proper Clio Cup Europe battle, this, in Clio Cup Series. Everybody arguing over the race lead, you can put a case for, but the good thing is it is clean racing. Even in the darkness, there's no silliness, there's no elbows out, there's no punting people wide. It's just good, hard, one-make racing, as it should be. Back on the inside line now comes Guillot for the race lead. Pouget's attacking Girardot on the outside line, but he can't do it. Girardot gets sideways. Guillot back in front. And now to the outside line there. Look, goes Joran Le Neutre, but he can't find a way past David Pouget, who knows a trick or two. Pouget has never won Clio Cup France. He's won the Spanish repeatedly. He's been a Peugeot champion in France, but never the Clio France title. So he's fighting for points in the Europe Series. He's fighting for points in the French as well. It is Guillot back in front then as they sweep through the fast right of Signes. He runs it wide onto the curb, and that leading quintet then coming through. The leading car out of the French series is that of Pouget, and in 8th place is the leading Spanish entry. That's Alessandro Schimpf. Big drama for Pouget as he gets sideways and caught up with Guillot, who's lost the lead back to Girardot there, coming out of Le Beausset. They've all survived it, but David Pouget delayed, and so now Joran Le Neutre comes up on the inside line. Le Neutre tries to get round him. Pouget up the curb and back onto the racetrack again as they come now to the end of lap number 3. 17 minutes and 40 seconds and counting as David Pouget is on the outside there, looks scrabbling for grip. He's got the inside line down to Virage du Pont, breaks late, round the outside goes Le Neutre, and who's going to get the drive off the corner? Well, Le Neutre goes way wide over the curb. This is where the track limits investigations might be coming, but the leader goes by. That's Girardot. In second place, it is Guillaume. In third, over the line, side by side, Pouget versus Jean Le Neutre, and the margin between them was 14 thousandths of a second as they broke the beam, and Le Neutre goes third, Spinkovic is fifth behind Pouget, and Nicolas Milan is up into sixth, and here comes the charge then. So keep an eye at the back of this leading sextet on number one, Nicolas Milan. He has won more Clio Cup titles than anybody else. He's won the European repeatedly, he's won the French repeatedly, and he is an absolute expert at chipping his way forward as the race goes on and gaining places. There he is, the Castrol car in sixth place. So he's let everybody else work their tyres over the first couple of laps, and the multiple French champion, the reigning European champion, is now on a charge. So Milan starting to close a little bit. Marc Guillot is a triple French champion, and he is the man that did lead, but Girardeau is ahead, but they could be overlapping as they get to the chicane on the Mistral this time. On the inside line is Girardeau, on the outside line is Guillot, and on the inside line goes Jean Le Neutre, but he can't find a way through. So Jean Le Neutre has to slot back in there. Behind Guillot, Girardeau comes out ahead. Fourth is Pouget, fifth is Spinkovic, sixth look is Milan, and then in seventh place now, Leo Jusset has just gained the ground, number 104. He's on a charge ahead of Alejandro Schimpf. Again, the race leaders come pouring through Signes, but David Pouget dropping back. He's not in the game plan here. Milan closing as best he can there onto the tail of Jerzy Spinkovic. Remember, he is the Challengers Cup leader within the Europe Series. And Spinkovic turning his way through ahead of Pouget now. So David Pouget, who was third early on, has been well and truly mugged. He's down to fifth, but others delay themselves by running out wide over the curb. And as they come back into view, it is still Girardeau ahead, but only just now. But Le Neutre up on the inside of Guillot, and he's done it, I think, for second place. Yes, he has. So Jean Le Neutre up into second spot. Guillot down to third. Fourth, Spinkovic. Fifth, Pouget. Milan is sixth. Any one of those could yet be the race winner with still 15 minutes and a lap on the clock. Brake hard for the Virage Dupont, and Girardeau a little bit slow off the corner. Very wide there goes Spinkovic, and he's now looking for the toe to try to move up past Marc Guillot as they come past the pit. So over the timing line they go with the top two, just breaking away a little this lap. Over the line they come now, down towards the first left-right sequence at Verrier. There, a curb-hopping Marc Guillot fights the car through the left, through the right, and now back onto the power once again. So 41 started, 40 is still circulating, which is quite extraordinary. And the leader just is Girardeau. But now Jean Le Neutre is looking ever more menacing as then diving, oops, more mayhem behind. A big spin for Leo Jusset, who manages so far not to be collected by anybody, but the car is stranded. I was about to suggest that there were others gaining ground as they came down towards the Virage du Camp, like Alejandro Schimpf amongst others, but then it's all gone pear-shaped, as you saw. So let's have another look. First up was 211 all over the curb. That was Nikola Milkiovic, but the one that really lost out was in 104, Leo Jusset. And how they all managed to avoid him remains one of life's great mysteries, but thankfully they did. The leaders are on the Mistral straight once again, and there, 77, Jean Le Neutre makes his move for the race lead, gets a squeeze from Girardeau up the curb. Inside for part one, outside for part two, inside for part three, side by side all the way through. It's like a rolling start, this, and still they are together, but Girardeau will have the inside line for the next corner. Jean Le Neutre alongside him. Great battle between the pair of them. So Le Neutre, who is now the man leading the French part of the race, but he gets hung out to dry on the outside. Guillot comes back at him on the inside line. But as far as the French series is concerned, it is still Le Neutre versus Spinkovic versus Pouget. And down to Le Bousset they come with Girardeau up front and getting away by a couple of lengths from Guillot. Le Neutre third on the road. Remember, drivers register for different championships. Some are scoring points in Europe, some in the French series, some in Clio Cup Spain, some in a combination of two of those. And Spinkovic leads the French, Le Neutre leads the French, I should say, and the leading driver from the Clio Cup Europe series is Girardeau, and the leading Spanish entry, 8th, and that is Alejandro Schimpf. 8th at the start of the lap. Could be better than that by the end, could be worse. We'll wait and see as Le Neutre gets back onto the tail of Guillot, down to the Virage Dupont, and whoops, that's Milan getting up the inside and hitting the curb, but he's ahead of his main rival for Clio Cup France points, David Pouget. as hinted. Milan edging his way forward as Gerardo goes through. The incident between Alejandro Schimpf and Leo Jusset at turn 3 is under investigation. And Gerardo leads by 0.7 of a second from Guillaume. Then it is Jean Le Neutre in that 3rd place. Look as they wriggle their way out of turn 2. But again, we've had so many places traded. We haven't had a bit of contact yet between the leading drivers. It's been close, but it's, as I've said repeatedly in this series, proper one-make racing. It can be done. Le Neutre has had contact, though, because the mirror droops to the side on the right-hand side. That's a flesh wound compared to some bits of contact you see in one-make racing. So Le Neutre battles on and is still leading Clio Cup France, don't forget. He's 3rd on the road, but he's ahead in Clio Cup France, which is very good news indeed. Along the Mistral straight, race leader is Anthony Gerardo, but now getting a tow is Guillaume. That brings him closer. And then in 3rd place, Le Neutre, fending off the attacks of Spinkovics, who in turn is 2nd in Clio Cup France. Replay here of bits falling off the back. That's Alex Laro's car, and another trim trailer battles its way through Saint-Baume. Race leaders have got 11 minutes and counting, plus that regulation lap still to go. A flying lap round here is 2.5 minutes. It's a long lap for a Clio, and a big slide from Jean Le Neutre there. He catches it, but that was a big, big moment for him. And at an ultra-fast corner as well, so Le Neutre did well to save that. Battles his way now down to Le Beausset. Gerardo goes wide, but then he's able to move across and get the apex for the 2nd part of that long corner. 3 in a line for the race lead now. So through they turn, with those 3 cars for the race lead being those of Gerardo, Guillaume and Le Neutre. 4th, almost lonely this lap, is Spinkovics. 5th is Milan, getting there, getting there, getting there. A little bit of time gained each lap. Milan for the podium. Milan even for a win, he can never rule out. And then in 6th place, David Pouget, who qualified 2nd, but has faded again as the race has gone on. It has not been a stellar season for Pouget as far as Clio Cup Europe is concerned. And even in the terms of the French Championship right now, he's only 4th in the order. Leaders go by them. So we're into the last 10 minutes on the clock, plus that regulation lap at the end. So 77, Jean Le Neutre running 3rd, and Jetse Spinkovics 2nd in the French battle is behind him. Then you've got Milan, then you've got Pouget in Clio Cup France, but the top 2 scoring Europe points only, Gerardo and Guillaume. And Le Neutre is right back with them. Hard on the brakes, Gerardo. Massive pressure here. He's trying not to leave the door even ajar, never mind open, but he's always trying to find the reference points as well. He is the pioneer on every lap. He's the first one into a braking zone. He's the first one into a corner, and in the dark, it is even harder than normal. Along the Mistral they come. This, lap 7, 8 3/4 minutes of the race, still to go. Remember that there are also these different battles going on lower down the order for the Challengers Cup, for the Gentleman Drivers' Honours as well. And there Gerardo and Guillaume come through, and Gerardo skips the chicane, misses his braking point. That's exactly what I was just saying about him being the first one to arrive at a corner. This time he gets it wrong. He skips the chicane. Now look at the advantage that has given him. He's away and gone up the road. What he ought to do is slow down, let them catch him up, otherwise he could be in danger of being given a penalty for gaining an advantage, and I think he has done so. Yes, he has. He's let them catch back up again and then gets sideways into Senior. Guillaume goes round the outside, so does Le Neutre, so does Spinkovics. There may have been a bit of a nudge between the 2 of them, but all of a sudden, Gerardo's car was unsettled, and Marc Guillaume may well have been the aggressor. Look at this, 3 wide, and a little bit more leaning goes on for 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Gerardo with his elbows out, he's back up into 2nd place. He doesn't like losing places, Anthony Gerardo. You've just seen proof of it. He's back into 2nd place as quick as anything. Spinkovics, in the meantime, round the outside of Le Neutre, and that gives him Clio Cup France leadership right now. So out of all of that, Guillaume it is that leads the way, but Gerardo's got other ideas about this. Now, where is Milan? He is 5th. They're side by side for 3rd. And up the inside there goes Spinkovic to elbow his way past Le Neutre. Pouget's been run out wide by Milan as well. There they are, getting back onto the circuit. There's almost a hope that in the darkness people won't see that they're going off the road, but they do. Spinkovic crosses the line third. That means he's leading Clio Cup France ahead of Le Neutre. Pouget fifth ahead of Milan. Down to turn one. Yet again they come. This then starts lap number 8. That is Spinkovic ahead of Le Neutre. Pouget and Milan, old adversaries, come through together. David Pouget round the outside, and then suddenly having a go at both of them there. Look up on the inside line. Alexandre Alboy in a big, big mission. Great racing all the way through the top 10. Squeal of tyres down towards turn 3. Next one into the mix is Nikola Milkiovic in 2.11. So Pouget gets back ahead of Milan and gets into the back of him and gives him a right whack. That turns Pouget sideways, and Milan very wisely doesn't force the issue. Now sideways is Milkiovic. It's all getting a bit leery, late race now. Milkiovic then getting a whack in the back. That turns that car sideways, and now the investigations might be being ramped up a little bit. 6 minutes on the clock. So this is what happened to Pouget. Milan breaks late, bang, into the tail. That unsettles David Pouget, but Milan doesn't go for a gap on the inside. Lets Pouget recover, and then look up on the inside. That was Alejandro Schimpf getting the car of Nikola Milkiovic all sideways. Following all this, 6 minutes and a lap remain. Questions will be asked later. We've lost Gaël Rostin as well as Adrien Schimpf from the fray, so we're down to 39, which is still an extraordinary number that have survived the rigours thus far. To Signes they come, and it's going to be Guillot from Girardeau. The two Milan teammates run together. And Anthony Girardeau, certainly one of the fariest races that we've got in Clio Cup Series, goes into Le Beausset now, absolutely glued to the back of Guillot's car. Through they turn once more. Up the curb goes Guillot, up the curb goes Girardeau. Pair of them running nose to tail, but they've got to be careful here. If they delay themselves, then Jean Le Neutre, who is back up into third place and therefore into the lead of Clio Cup France, he's going to be with them. What about the Pouget and Milan battle? Surprisingly, Milan is not getting through the traffic as easily as one might have anticipated, as the leaders come back down to the Virage du Pont, ready to complete 8 laps. Guillot still clear up front then. Over the timing line they go. Margin between them, 0.3 of a second, and Jean Le Neutre in third place has just done the fastest lap of the race. So he's most definitely on the charge and might yet get back up with these two. That said, if he does and gets caught up, he'll be delayed, he might risk not finishing. If he lags back by a couple of lengths, but maintains his Clio Cup France lead, it's going to be good for the championship. So down to turn 3 comes the race leader, Marc Guillot. Swings his way down now into the right of the Virage du Camp. Short straight up towards Saint-Baume, loops around to the Mistral straight. Girardeau curb hopping up onto 2 wheels. You can see the way that Le Neutre is getting closer and closer all the while behind them. So number 77, Jean Le Neutre, hustling on. Le Neutre in the Julien Brichet team car, JSB Competition, and a very, very rapid driver indeed is Jean Le Neutre. So let's see what he can do about that top 2 before the end of the race as they head to the chicane. More battles rage on lower down, but in the midst of all of that is Stefano Quinta, number 69, the Italian driver in another Milan run car. Just about everybody has got a playmate on track at the moment as the cars now scrap their way yet again up towards Signes. So, leading headlights. Do we look for Guillot? Do we look for Girardeau? It's Guillot still, but Girardeau goes to the outside and Le Neutre goes to the outside of everybody. It was here a couple of laps ago that Girardeau had his big, big lose. Neat and tidy this time, but look at the pace that Le Neutre has got, benefiting from those two ahead, holding each other up. In 4th place, Jerzy Spinkovic, second in the French part of the race. He's also closing up, so once more it's 3, nearly 4 for the race lead. Pouget 5th, Milan 6th, but they're not making progress, and Milan dropping away again from David Pouget, which is a real surprise. So it's Guillot upholding Milan honours, the team having a 1-2, JSB Competition in 3rd place, and then you've got Jerzy Spinkovic running in 4th at the moment. Spinkovic for the Unique Racing team. Girardeau thinks about a move at Virage du Pont, but Marc Guillot has that covered off very nicely indeed. Back onto the power, up through the gears. Good exit speed carried by Joran Le Neutre, who comes up alongside Girardeau now as they head over the timing line. He's got the inside line for turn 1, which is going to translate to the outside line for turn 2, so this is going to be brave stuff as the teams watch on the pit wall. Le Neutre is on the inside of Girardeau. He does make a move and he does go through. Brave stuff by Joran Le Neutre, so that is certainly not in the game plan for Girardeau. He gets dumped down to 3rd place. He's on his toes then as the cars accelerate again down towards turn 3. And so now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 for the lead, and back on the inside goes Girardeau. Brakes really late into turn 3, off the road and back on again. It's hard to see where the road is, of course, in the darkness. And Le Neutre makes a mistake, brakes hard, brakes late, goes wide, goes deep. And Jerzy Spinkovic up the inside, so 2nd at turn 1 and 4th at turn 5. It's all unravelled a bit for Joran Le Neutre, and significantly he's just lost his Clio Cup France lead in the process of all of that. To the Mistral straight they come, and you can see on the clock a minute and change remains. Now things are getting, and you can feel it, really serious. There's not much of the race remaining. The clock might even hit 0 on this lap, which would give us just the regulation lap at the end. So now it's push, and Le Neutre does so to go back ahead of Spinkovic. Retakes the place, back up into 3rd now. Marc Guillot still leads the way. Anthony Girardeau in 2nd place. Both of them have driven really well here, trading the lead between the two of them. They turn their way now up through the right-hander of Senior, and now along the short straight to Le Beausset. To the inside line, Guillot to defend. To the outside line to attack is Girardeau. Marc Guillot, triple Clio Cup France champion, but the door is open and Girardeau dives for the gap, goes through into the race lead. They both run wide off the circuit, but Anthony Girardeau has gone through into the lead of the race now. So Girardeau, perennial bridesmaid in terms of championships, but a regular race winner, hits the front. But Guillot has not done yet, and it will be the last lap this time because we are 2, 1, 0 seconds away from the time expiring. So there's the regulation lap to come then. It is now or never on this lap for Guillot to mount the fight back as they come now down towards the Virage du Pont. Look at Le Neutre, he's right there in 3rd place. 4th is Spinkovic. Any one of these 4 could yet win. Guillot gets a tow, gives a tow as well because he's the man in the middle. Girardeau leads onto the last lap by 0.193 of a second. The gap 2nd to 3rd is 0.175 of a second. And it's 7/10ths covering the top 4. That is how close it is. Down towards turn 1. Girardeau still leads, but it's whether he will lead coming onto the pit straight at the end of this lap that's really key to all of this now. Girardeau leads the way from Guillot in 2nd. Le Neutre 3rd. Jerzy Spinkovic still battling with Joran Le Neutre, of course, for honours in the Challengers Cup in Clio Cup France, as well as the overall Clio Cup France win. They are side by side. Look down towards turn 5 with Guillot trying to get up the inside of Girardeau there. Tightened his line, trying to make the run up the inside, but couldn't quite do it. Jeremy Bordegaray leading the gentleman drivers section of Clio Cup France. So lots of the subsidiary awards to be decided when they come pouring over the timing line, but right now the leader remains Anthony Girardeau. He's about half a lap away from the checkered flag. Is it enough? Guillot makes his move on the inside line, brakes as late as he dares. The Eastern European champion tried to make the move on the inside line, couldn't do it. In 3rd place, Le Neutre is right there as well, and he goes for 2nd around the outside of Guillot, coming onto the Mistral. Spinkovic right there behind. Girardeau then leads the way, but he's giving a tow to a whole pack of cars behind him. Le Neutre on the inside. On the outside line is Guillot. Pouget is almost back with them, trying to get a tow. Others jinking left and right to break the tow. Le Neutre goes 2nd, and it looks like Guillot is going to be dumped all the way down to 4th place on the last lap as he and Spinkovic rub. Yep, Spinkovic goes through on the inside. Guillot drops to 4th. Here comes Pouget behind him. Milan 6th is closing up as well. Contact there. Guillot nibbles at the back of Spinkovic's car that just unsettles Jerzy Spinkovic, but he manages to survive. But Anthony Girardeau, it is the man that is 2nd in Clio Cup Europe at the moment with 7 wins, and an 8th beckons for him as he comes now up towards the line. Right there behind him is Joran Le Neutre, who's going to take a maiden win in Clio Cup France. A great drive this by Le Neutre. In third place is Spinkovic. In fourth place it is Marc Guillot, who can rightly feel aggrieved that he's going to have no podium to show for his efforts at the end of it. As up towards the timing line, checkered flag at the ready, it is going to be a race win for Anthony Girardot, who comes across the line, but only just to win from, in second place, Joran Le Neutre. In third, Jetse Spinkovic, Marc Guillot fourth, David Pouget takes fifth, Nicolas Milon sixth, ahead of Alejandro Schimpf, Nikola Milkiovic, Jusso Pantila up to ninth, and Alexandre Alboy in 10th place. Fantastic race. That is what one-mate racing should be. Yes, there was a little bit of contact, but it was inevitable from time to time, but it wasn't the silly rock apery that you get in other categories, and that was a credit to the entire grid that 39 of the 41 survive. One or two have got another dent on the car, but it matters not. That was a really, really good advert for Clio Cup Series. And Anthony Girardot has done it again. Led, lost the lead, fought back, lost the lead, fought back, but he's there when it matters. And Anthony Girardot wins the first race of the weekend. Clio Cup Series giving plenty of drama in the darkness at Paul Ricard, but the Clios have lit up Le Castellet. Anthony Girardot the winner by 0.465 of a second from Joran Le Neutre, and third Jetse Spinkovic. In Europe, it is Girardot from Marc Guillot from David Pouget. In France, it is Joran Le Neutre from Jetse Spinkovic from David Pouget. In Spain, Alejandro Schimpf, the winner, from up from the back of the grid, I think I'm right in saying. The car of Jordi Palmeiras. Yes, he was last on the grid, Palmeiras, and finished 17th, which is an exceptional drive. That's why I was doing a double take. And then third in the Spanish contest is Alex Laroche. So Alex Laroche finishing in third in Clio Cup Spain. The winning challenger, Joran Le Neutre. The winning gentleman driver, Jeremy Bordegaray. That was both for Le Neutre in France. Spinkovic was the winner of Challengers Cup in Europe. What about Challengers Cup in Spain? That was Palmeiras. And then hunting further down the order for the gentleman drivers, Bordegaray, Jeremy Bordegaray was the winner of gentleman drivers in the French Championship. The winner of gentleman driver in Europe, I would offer you as René Steenmetz. And the winning gentleman driver in the Spanish Championship, quite a long way back, provisionally, Joaquin Rodrigo. Alex Royo came into that as the Spanish Championship leader, only finishing fourth, a disappointment for him, but a great drive by Alejandro Schimpf as well, coming through to take 7th place overall. So, it is Anthony Girardot that takes the race win, and this swarm of Clios making its way back towards the pit lane. The cars will, of course, go to the Parc Fermé area, then the drivers to the podium. And hopefully we'll be able to show the delight of drivers up on that top step once the drivers have clambered out of the cars. There is Anthony Girardot then making his way to the pit lane. Anthony Girardot, who has been a mainstay of Renault Clio racing in France for quite a few seasons, came out, like many of them did, Peugeot racing. David Pouget has been a serial Peugeot Championship winner before coming to win serial titles in Renaults. And there the cars make their way down the pit road. So Anthony Girardot takes a well-deserved race win. The fact that he started on pole position might make you think it was a foregone conclusion, but oh no, it was not. Very definitely it was not. So there, to the winner's area comes a very happy Anthony Girardot. The one that I think might feel pretty miffed is Nicolas Milon, who just could not make progress there, could he? Milon qualified 6th, finished 6th, but even though he was 2.5 seconds away from the lead, he never got really much higher than 5th place during that race, and that was only very, very briefly. So Milon will perhaps fight back stronger tomorrow. There's a standalone qualifying session for the second race, so a different grid. Cars there being put in place. And Anthony Girardot clambers through the car. Oh no, he can't get out on his side. Is that because of a little bit of contact that prevented the door from opening? Or is he just unable to open the door because of the proximity of other cars? It always amazes me how tightly they pack them in Parc Fermé so that the door barely opens. But Anthony Girardot cares not. He's a race winner, he's out of the car, and he's a very happy man indeed. So congratulations to the race winner. And Anthony Girardot, who this year, I've got to say, has calmed down a little bit. Last year he was a regular for getting penalties, exceeding track limits, being involved in incidents that cost him dear. This year, the speed is undiminished, but there's more thought going in, there's more control going in, and he's a much, much stronger driver. So, a great result for Anthony Girardot, who takes victory here in the first race of the weekend. Let's have a look at the highlights of the race then, as we await for the drivers to head to the podium. So it began with Anthony Girardot from pole position blasting away, making a great getaway, as Marc Guillot from row 2 forced his way up past David Pouget on the inside line. Early dramas though, as Alexander Finkelstein got tipped out going through the first couple of corners. Battle on between Girardot and Guillot for the race lead. That ran for much of the race, but Guillot eventually falling back. A very committed Girardot being able to force his way through into the lead. More drama further back as Alejandro Schimpf made contact with Leo Jusset and turned Jusset around. For the race lead, Guillot versus Girardot. But then Jean Leneutre got in on the act as well, and he came up as a real force to be reckoned with. Girardot having to work hard to fend him off. Guillot hard on the tails of Girardot, forced a mistake out of the leader. Girardot missed the chicane, and therefore, for fear of a penalty, back right off. Hit the brakes, let the rest of the field close up. And as he did so, turned into senior with a little bit of a rub from Guillot, and suddenly he got sideways. Guillot pounced, went round the outside. Girardot was not impressed. He fought his way back on the inside of Jerzy Spinkovic, and an angry Girardot is always a force to be reckoned with. It was not long before, from fourth, he was back into second, like within a corner. And then he attacked Guillot for the race lead. Le Beausset, Girardot's really good corner, and he was back through on the inside. He used all of the curve and then a bit more on the outside, but he was back in the lead. Four for the race lead on the last lap, with Leneutre coming up to have a go at Guillot, and Spinkovic in the mix as well. But as they squabbled over second, third and fourth places, it was Anthony Girardot taking an 8th win of the year in Clio Cup Europe. Great racing, and there is more of the same to look forward to tomorrow here from Le Castellet. Race 2 in the daylight, and Anthony Girardot's rather battle-scarred car comes home as the race winner. Great stuff for Anthony Girardot, winner of race 1 of Clio Cup Series here at Paul Ricard. So the winning drivers will be making their way to the podium shortly. Anthony Girardot, the race winner from Jean Leneutre, and Jerzy Spinkovic in third. Marc Guillot fourth, ahead of David Pouget and then Nicolas Milon. Alejandro Schimpf seventh from Nicolas Milkiovic, then Justo Pantila and Alexandre Alboy in 10th place. 11th to Aurélien Renet from Jeremy Bordegaray, and then Pierre Monmanix. Alexander Finkelstein recovered for 14th, as did Leo Jusset for 15th, ahead of Mathieu Rougelet. From the back of the grid, Jorge Palomera 17th from Nicolas Albea, Alex Lausch and Cedric Delcroix. So that, the top 20 at the end of a very lively race, with René Steinmetz taking 21st from Guillaume Mayo, then Alex Royo and Stefan Polderman. Chen Han Lin next from Laurent Diadus. And you can see the rest of the order with the cars of Gael Rostand and also Adrian Schimpf being the 2 retirements. Phew, time to catch your breath after all that. Great racing from Clio Cup Series, and the podium is being made ready then. The drivers in a moment will be up there, ready to celebrate. And for third place, Jerzy Spinkovic is there. For second, really, really good drive by Jean Leneutre, who makes his way onto the podium now. And for the top step, after a fantastic, really feisty drive, the race winner here at the Circuit Le Castellet is Anthony Girardot. Anthony Girardot on the top step of the Clio Cup Series podium for Milan Competition, and a great drive by Anthony Girardot. He takes the race win.
le podium. Désolé, Jean-Pierre Darfeux, cette fois c'est à vous. Jean-François, alors les trophées sont où?
So Anthony Girardeau on the top step. A delighted man. Another win for the Milan Competition team. And so now the trophies are being made ready. And the national anthem for winning driver and winning team to be played as well here on home soil. Bravo, Anthony Girardeau, race winner of Clio Cup Series Race 1 here at Paul Ricard. Join us for more action tomorrow in the daylight. But for now, from David Addison trackside at Paul Ricard, it's goodbye.
Désolé pour cette